Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Sabrina Young, and I'm with Young's Daughters Funeral Home. I'm really excited because we have a new local grief author in our community, and I'm so excited to share the upcoming new year. I want to introduce you to Jason Harris. Jason, thank you so much for being here.
It is a pleasure to be here, Sabrina. I've been so excited about coming on board.
Absolutely. So, tell us a little bit about yourself, Jason. Where did you come from, and how did you get into the industry?
Well, I was born in Fort Worth, Texas, and so I've been Texan all my life. I've lived all around the country, and I went to seminary in North Carolina, Bible college in Dallas, and so that tells you a little bit about my background because I've been in ministry for about, well, a little over 35 years. I know that doesn't look possible. I started when I was 10. That's not true. And I was actually raised in a minister's household. My father is still preaching and has been for 65 years. And so I was raised around ministry. And I even started a church up in Wisconsin back in 2002. And when I moved back to Texas, I was already in sales and like insurance sales, like long-term care and that sort of thing. And so I know I wanted to continue something with the insurance license, which I moved to Texas. And I saw an advertisement about pre-need funeral sales. And to be honest with you, Sabrina, that just sounded depressing. It sounded morbid. And I thought, well, I'll go check it out anyway. I've sold things like windows and siding and roofs and home improvement things and air conditioners and things like that. But I thought funerals. And I saw this presentation and I thought, my goodness, I didn't even know people could do this. And I was hooked. I couldn't believe, I thought more people need to know about this. And I was shocked to find out that only 17% of the population has taken care of prearranging their funeral services. And so once I learned about the personal, emotional, and financial benefits of doing this, I thought, I've got to get on board. And so I actually got really good at it because I was very passionate about how important it is that people do this. And I kind of worked myself out of a job. And from being an independent agent, they said, we want you to teach other people to do this the way you do it. And so I started going all around East Texas, and there was about 70 or 80 agents that I trained to do this very thing. Well, since I was working with so many funeral homes, word got around that I had a ministry background, and I had a funeral director ask me one time, "Hey, we have a family here that doesn't have a minister, and the funeral is this Thursday. Could you speak at the funeral?" And I said, "Well, sure." At that time, I'd done lots of funerals as a pastor and in ministry, but I said, I don't think I've ever done a funeral for someone I've never met, so I'd like to meet with them. And so I did, and that ball started rolling and gathering more steam. And before you know it, I started being asked by a number of funeral homes if I could step in and do a service. And so I developed a series of questions. If I could ask these questions to as many family members as possible, not only was it going to be very personable and even an interactive service, which was kind of a new and unique thing, these funeral directors started saying, Jason, we've never heard so much laughter coming out of our chapel than when you do services here. And then I further pursued how can I hone the skill even more? And I became a certified celebrant uh, just a few years ago, maybe about 8 or 9 years ago. So I've said a lot to say that's kind of the evolution of how I got involved in the funeral business. I went from reluctant to that sounds depressing to wow, more people need to do this. And by the way, the other statistic is about 89% of the population agree that would be a good idea if I prearranged my service, but only 17% of the population have actually done it. And that's probably including most of the people listening to this right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm really excited that you have the passion for the funeral industry because it is not a passion for all people. And having a ministerial background, being able to do funerals different, I don't want to say doing it better, but doing it different and having additional options to our community, whether they are religious or not religious. I'm glad that you can bring both sides to the t of the coin to the family. So tell us about One, what inspired you to write your Good Grief book? We're really excited to showcase your books, and I want to know why people, well, like why, what inspired you to write this book?
Great question. Actually, the five questions that I just mentioned is what probably was the spark in that. But the five questions were originally generated to help me write a eulogy, a meaningful eulogy for someone that I didn't know. But I soon discovered three other very significant applications to that question, and I'll just give you one more. If you want to hear all four of them, you should read the book or come to one of my seminars called Five Questions That Will Change Your Life. And this is the story about 3 months after I was using these questions, and I'd used them for several services by this point. And so these five questions would just roll off of my tongue. I could do it in my sleep. And I was flying. Yes, and I was flying somewhere. And if you haven't figured this out about me by now, just kind of from my personality, if you sit next to me on an airplane, we're going to be friends. I'm that guy. I'm that guy that unless you put your earbuds in, put your hoodie up, and stare out the window like, please don't talk to me, I'm an introvert, then I might at least give you 30 minutes before I start talking to you. But this lady sat down next to me. We're getting buckled in. And I'm asking her all the how you doing questions and are you coming or going? Do you live around here? Are you going to visit grandkids? Is this for business or pleasure? What do you do? And that sort of thing. And she finally got a word in edgewise with me. And she said, Jason, what do you do? And I said, well, it's going to sound strange, but I speak at funerals. And she looked like, what? I said, I know, I need a better hobby, right? But uh, but I said, it's really my passion. But my real passion is grief support. I really care about people's journey after the funeral. And her countenance changed. She looked at me, Sabrina, and she said, oh my gosh, where were you 2 years ago when my mother died? And
Sure, yeah.
and so what I said to her was, "Oh my gosh, your mother passed away. I hate to hear that." Um, and what just naturally fell out of my mouth, just very organically, I said, "Do you mind if I ask you a few questions about your mom?" And I had these five questions in my mind as if I was doing her mother's funeral. And she responded so favorably to that. She said, I would love that. She said, no one ever lets me talk about her. And isn't that true? When someone says, I lost a loved one, we immediately want to change the subject. It's like, oh, how about them Cowboys? Because I may be uncomfortable with your grief. What if you start crying? What if you get sad? What if I don't know what to say? And so she
Yeah.
said, I would love it if you asked me five questions or asked me some questions about my mom. And I began asking the questions. And sure enough, before you know it, she was laughing and I was laughing. And we were both crying at the end of it because the fifth and final question is a very emotive question. I'm not going to get into them right now. If you want to hear about the five questions, you need to come to one of my seminars. Um, but she got my phone number. This was like about 8 years ago when this happened. I could not tell you this woman's name right now if my life depended on it. I've always regretted that. I wish that I would have written it down somewhere. She's not even saved in my phone, but she got my phone number, and this is the point. About 3 hours after we landed, I got a single text message from this woman, and this is what it said. Jason, you have no idea how much I needed that. And I thought, wow, really? I mean, because what usually falls out of our mouth are just platitudes that we've heard all our lives, like, oh, well, at least she's in a better place, right? Or at least she's not suffering, right? Or something asinine and just cliche. But the fact that I was essentially validating her feelings and just letting her talk about someone that she missed very much and loved very much, it was very healing for her. And so the thought process was, I need to write this stuff down. And that essentially is what gave way to another chapter and another chapter. And there ended up with 10 chapters in Good Grief, Celebrate Your Life. And I can't wait to share the other two applications to these five questions with you as well.
Great. Well, I am so excited. So the viewers, if you are watching, I hope that in the within the new year, our mission is going to be offering his grief seminar classes. And his book will be available for signing. So if you want to have that Jason Harris signature in there, I hope you can make one of our monthly meetings. He'll have seminars throughout our community, and we're really excited to have Jason affiliated with Young's Daughters Funeral Home. And Jason, I really want to thank you for what you're doing and acknowledging that pre-planning is something that's important, and acknowledging that grief is very real. And there's a lot of ways that people grieve, and there's a lot of good and bad things to say, and highlighting the things that should be said, and forgetting the things that we ought to not say. Having that in your seminar, I'm really looking forward to having our first one kick off, and I believe our first one is going to be in January.
January.
The
Yep.
Is it the second Sunday or the third Sunday?
I think it's the second. I'll need to look, and y'all stay tuned, and we will give you that for sure. I'm even going to have a very special separate session for local pastors, ministers, and people interested in doing that. I'll give you one quick teaser about the book that I'm happy to give you for free. Chapter 9 is called Lessons from a Hobbit, a Grief Dog, and a Box of Matches. I have an example of a matchbox with me right here, and I'm not going to talk about them right now. But if you want to hear about these, I can actually make matchboxes like these even for someone who has passed years ago, and they can carry the same purpose for you as well. They actually make pretty good Christmas ornaments if you want to be if I want to be honest about it. And so
There you go.
some people actually do that. They'll put these matchboxes on their Christmas tree. But yeah, I would love to have you come and hear for yourself the 5 questions that will change your life, and we'll have our very first one in January.
Well, we look forward to it. And if anybody is interested in obtaining one of his good grief books, we ask that you can come to his book signing ceremony, or you can inquire through the email and through our website. There's a forum there that says pre-planning. You can put that you were interested in the book as well. Again, Jason, thank you so much for coming onto the platform and educating our community.
It's been a blessing, and I appreciate it. And I look forward to working with Young's Daughters Funeral Home and meeting more people in the community and hearing your story, and hearing everyone's individual story, and trying to help them to find good grief and to celebrate their life.
All right. Well, you have it. Thank you so much. And again, everyone, please like, subscribe, and share, and tag friends and family members that you feel that might be beneficial to hearing this book, reading this book, or coming out to the seminars. We'd love to have you come and participate. Again, thank you, everyone.